Hello everybody, it's Donna. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is going to be the very first of my junk journal that I've been making all the pink embellishments for. This cover is inspired by one that I saw Pam from the Paper Outpost do, and hopefully mine will turn out just as gorgeous as hers did. I'm just using some... This is actually the back of a paper pad. I cut two pieces, 6 inches by 9 inches, and then a spine of 2 inches. Just laid them kind of close together and then taped them. I don't have any tie-back. I wish I did, but I don't. So I'm hoping the tape, this is packing tape, will be strong enough. It is a little wobbly still, but I'm not too worried. I think after I put everything together, and it'll be fine. I am going to do just a simple voiceover in a little bit because this is going to take me way too long to do. What I'm doing is I'm just going to do a collage on the front and the back. I'm not sure what I'll put on the spine yet. So I got some things together. These are scraps, just some simple, literally scraps. Some comic book pages, some music sheets, some map, some little bits of just stuff that I was doing that... we're always using the jelly plate leftovers. I don't know if I'll use those or not because I'm afraid that I'm going to Mod Podge it afterwards. I'm afraid it might be, shift too much, or the ink might blend too much. And some doilies. I also got some stamps that I thought would be pretty because I'm trying to keep it kind of with pink tones as well as vintage. And these are just some pages I bought. These are digital downloads. I just printed them off to see what they look like. So I can try my borderless printing on my Canon, and I finally got it to work right. So I might be using those because I'm not sure what else I'm going to do with these. So I just print them off on paper. So I might be using some just for little blips of color. In particular, this one here, the pink one, will just be a blip of color in amongst the collage work. So this is going to be the outside, or the front and the back, and this is going to be the inside. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking a glue stick and I'm just going to randomly put pieces of these items down there just so I have a nice collage, and then I will cover it with like maybe Mod Podge or something along those lines. I'm not using anything like special to glue it down with. I'm just using a glue stick. This glue stick is kind of drying out, so hopefully it'll last through this project, or at least until I can get another one. I'm not worried about going right up to the edge of the front because I am going to put something, maybe lace or a piece of fabric or something there. Yeah, this is almost empty. This I might have to resort to something else unless I can find my other glue stick. But that'll be enough for me to get started with. I love these old music pages. I also don't want them all to be square or in any particular shape. I want a lot of raggedness. If I do happen to have anything that's flat, I think I will try to keep those along the edge, and then I'll just sand off any of the ones that are overhanging. Obviously I can't go all the way down there because I don't have any glue down there now. Okay, so for the rest of this, I'm going to just fast forward it. I don't think you really need or want to watch this step by step because it'll be pretty boring. And I will do a voiceover on any parts that I think needs an explanation. Okay, I'm back with the front all done, all collaged up. I just wanted to show you how I handled the edges. I didn't leave enough to really fold over to the other side, so I created like a little border with just some paper. All I did was I took some music paper, I just cut between the notes or the music itself, and that gave me enough that I could glue half of it down, and then I went right over it and glued it down the back. So this is all going to be covered later. But that way it pretty much covered everything up, and I'm quite pleased with the way it looks. I'm going to go ahead and glue down my pieces all the way around, and I'm going to begin Mod Podging it. Okay, so I finished the cover with the Mod Podge and the outside edge. I did continue the border all the way across the top where the spine is, because I know that it's going to be shown if I didn't. So I covered that. I'm not sure exactly what treatment I'm going to use for the spine. Now I'm just waiting for the Mod Podge to dry. I have a couple of coats on there. Once it's dried, I will give it a little bit of a buff with a sanding block to make it more smooth. And then I've dug out some other things that I'm going to need for the cover. I have this little butterfly that I want on the front. This is from Things by Larry. It's a digital download where there's 100 luxury butterflies. I printed them off on clear label paper, and then I just simply cut it out. Actually, that one I think I used my scan and cut to cut them out. Then I grabbed one of these book plates that I just bought off of Etsy. I put the brads in the holes. I'm not actually going to punch them through. They're going to be like a faux brad, because I'm not punching them right through the cover. And I printed off one of these book plates from, I think these were Shabby Dabby Doodah had them. And I just printed them off. I just cut them and made it smaller. I mean, I could have typed something up on the computer. It's no big deal. And I'm going to glue that down and then glue the book plate on top of it when we're ready for that. I also cut out 2 pieces for the inside. This is just some scrapbooking paper, I think from Michael's, I'm not sure. And that's just going to cover the front, the inside front covers. Just like that. Again, when we're ready. I do want to cover the spine though first. Somehow, I'm not sure how yet, but we'll have to figure that out. For the spine, I did find in my stash, I don't have a lot to choose from, so I pretty much have to use what's available to me. I found this, I think this was some kind of sample, but it's really, it contrasts really well. I might use this just to cover the spines. This is going to be on the spine on both sides of the book for a little bit. And then I grabbed this was from those snippets that we made earlier. I think that would just help coordinate everything together. I did also find, if that doesn't work, I found some gray that I had. Now I'm going to do it the way I've seen several people do it, where I'm going to attach some interfacing, fusible interfacing. The name escapes me right now, to the back of it, and then attach that to some kind of paper, and then we will glue it on. That way I can cut it perfectly, and it'll be adhered really nicely without any glue seeping through the fabric. At least this one I know the glue would seep through. This one the glue might not seep through. Okay, so I'm just going to wait for that to dry, and once it's dried I will go ahead and sand it, and I will be right back. Okay, so here's my cover, nice and dry. I have sanded it. I'm thinking I could almost put another coat of Mod Podge on it to really seal it in, but it's nice and smooth now. You don't really, well, you feel some texture, but it's still really nice and smooth. And it was pretty easy to do that. A few seconds and it was done. So that's that. Now I'm thinking I'd like to add a little bit of distressing to it, but I also wanted to make it more pink. So I don't know how well this is going to work out. I have archival ink in distress colors, Vintage Photo and Picked Raspberry. I do want to add, I have this vision in my head. Now, whether it's going to work or not, I don't know. This is archival ink, so I think it'll work. Oops, stick to that. Okay. I'm also thinking of getting the, there's a Krylon that I'm thinking of putting on top just to make sure everything is protected, but I don't have that. Now, I'm not worried. If it goes too pink, it's okay, because I'm going to put Vintage Photo over top of it. And I'm going to put the color elsewhere, not just along the edges, but I wanted to put the color elsewhere. So far, I'm not unhappy with it. It is gliding really nicely because it is, even though I did sand it, there is a little bit of tooth, but it's also very smooth. So it is gliding really nicely over top of it. I want to bring in the pink from the corners just a little bit because I am going to be putting book corners on them. And I'm also going to be vintaging them up with Vintage Photo. I don't know if that even makes sense, what I just said, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So I do want some of the pink beyond the corner, so just a little bit. On this side here, you're not going to see because I'm going to cover it up. I'm going to do the inside just a little bit because some of it is going to show. I know some of this paper is sticking up a bit, but once I get the other paper on, it'll be fine. Okay, so I have the fabric that I wanted for the inside. This was the inside piece. All I did was simply take a piece of what I used was Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. I don't know if the light would work or not. I have no idea. Well, I'm not sewing it, so it doesn't matter to me. I took a piece that was roughly the size of, just bigger than my spine and slightly bigger than I wanted it to be. Ironed it onto the back of the fabric, cut that out, and then ironed that onto a back of, to a piece of like packing paper. I've seen, you'll see many people do it this way. Then I cut that out, and then it was very easy for me to square it up and cut it on my paper trimmer, believe it or not. So I did that to that one. Then I also did it to this piece, which is an amazing piece, but I think it's a like an upholstery fabric, so it's just a little bit too thick, and I think that it might come off with time. So I decided I'm not going to use that one. Instead, I did the other gray one for the outside. Right, slightly different size. I think it's slightly bigger, just so it would cover more so. Okay, so I have those to put on, and that's going to be just decorative. And I have these to put on. So I already put on the one. I'm going to quickly put on this one, and I am using Beacon 3-in-1, just because it's not water-based. It dries quickly. It won't wrinkle my paper. And as long as you don't mind the smell, then it's a pretty good product. It took me a while to find this. I finally found it at Walmart up here. Fairly cheap too, actually. But I think it was actually labeled incorrectly, but that's okay. I got at least one bottle of it. I do put it in the Sugar Bell icing. Bottles, these are meant for icing, just because it gives us a smaller bead of glue. And I think that's what happened to my other journals. There's just so much glue that the glue seeped through. Okay, I'm just going to attach that to the front, trying to line it up perfectly with the other one. It does grab fairly quickly, so that looks okay. I'm also going to be covering these up. I'll probably put some kind of like pockets or something in them. I'm not sure yet. That'll be for a totally different video, I think. Okay, and then I'm ready now to put this piece in. This is a little tricky because I do want it to be lined up perfectly. And it's hard to see if it's lined up perfectly or not. And I also have to make sure that it gets into that little join there. I think I'll just start with the one side, just so I don't have glue all over everything. Okay, I'm just going to let the glue dry for that right now, and then I'm going to come back and do the front. I just want to make sure the glue is really dried on there. Okay, I think we're good to go. Now I'm just going to put everything else on the front that I wanted on the front, the little label with notes on it. Of course, you can just do journals, but I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use this journal for, so we're just going to put notes on it for now. And I don't really need this stuck down really well because I'm going to be putting that down on top. So I'm just going to use my glue stick. I'll just do it off to the side here, just to kind of position it. I'm not a fond lover of glue sticks, but this will hold it long enough for me to get the other piece down. And then I can reposition it too if I don't like where it is. Okay, I'm actually thinking, well, I might go with a glue gun actually to glue that down. I'm not sure. Well, let's try it and see. We'll try this first because I don't have my glue gun out. That way, if I really don't like the notes, I can still slide in another label underneath it. Or on top of there, but underneath that. Underneath the book plate. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now for my little butterfly I'm going to add. This is, as I said, done on clear sticker paper. So it is kind of translucent, like you can see through it. So I don't know how much is, I'm hoping it'll show up enough that it kind of gives a focal image. And I think that worked out just fine. Actually, I'm quite pleased with that. Because you can still see the background through it. Okay, now for the final part for the front, that's going to be this here. Now I'm not sure, I am going to put some lace. I'm hoping this might be too big actually, because I want to put lace on it to cover up this raw edge. So actually I think I'm going to go and cut this down just a little bit more. I'll be right back. Okay, I cut this down just a little bit, just a smidgen. It's almost the same as the inside now. And I'm going to glue that on. And then after that, I'm going to glue on, actually I'm not going to glue on this yet because when I sew in my signatures, I don't want to see my signatures sewn in, or the thread, sewing part of the thread. So I'm going to put that on top at the very end once my signatures are sewn in. However, I do have this pieces of lace that I'm going to sew, just glue down on top very gently, very carefully. Okay, so let's get this sewn down. Again, just using the Beacon 3-in-1. You kind of have to kind of coax it a little bit. I think this is a little off. I think this side has a little bit wider than the other side, but I don't know if I can grab it now because it's already grabbed it, so I'm just going to leave it. But I think this has a little bit more than that side does. But you know what? I think I'm okay with that. Okay, and now we're going to glue down. I'm just going to let that sit there. I think it's okay because I want it to stay in the book form. And I think this should have been pushed up a little bit, but that's, again, I'm okay with that. attach that right to the front. Actually, I'm going to move it right up so you don't see too much of it. Too much of the, or you see less of the gray material fabric. So it's going to be sitting right on there. And I think that's fine. That way you do see less of the gray. I know this will bleed through because there's holes obviously in the lace, but it'll dry okay. This one, because I'm going to try to fool myself into thinking I did it correctly. I'm just going to move this down just a little bit so it appears to have the same amount of gray space, even though I know it's over a little bit, but that's okay. I think that's actually looks pretty good there, just like that. Today is for me is a Sunday afternoon. It was cooler out today. Considering it's January, I would expect it to be quite a bit colder than what it is. But it's late in the day, and I have to go to work tomorrow, and I don't want to go to work tomorrow. Oops. But I am getting a little tired. And there's our cover done. I actually think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not big on collage, but I think I'm pretty happy with that, considering that it was made out of garbage cardboard and it's only one piece. I thought it might not be stiff enough, but now with the Mod Podge and everything, it's quite stiff. The collage on top. I think the butterfly, I wish it was a little bit more brighter. It stood out a little bit more, but that's fine. It doesn't detract from the cover itself. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So this will, as I said, I think this should have been pushed up a little bit more, but you literally only have seconds, and I kind of messed it up, but that's okay, because once I add this on, if I decide to use that, I might use something else, but I think I will use that. And then maybe a dangle, but I didn't punch a hole yet, but we'll see. I like dangles, like things that hang down. I like a lot of texture, and I am one of those weird people that like glitter and bling things and anything that's shiny and all that. So I have a tendency to add too much. Okay, so that's going to be it. It doesn't look like I have to do a voiceover for anything, but that is the cover. I am going to do the other part when I actually make the signatures for the inside. Actually, I did forget one thing, and that is the corners. The corners for the, I don't know what you call those, corner protectors, I don't know, but corners. I do have two kinds here. I have these ones, which are usually the ones I use because they're readily available. And that looks fine. But I also have these new ones that, I don't know where I got them, at maybe Amazon. But they're smaller. Like, they're not so, oh, I like that. And they fit in there, but they don't have the width in there. So I wasn't sure if it would go around this, because these sometimes are hard to get around, but that actually looks really pretty. I do think I'm going to use those. I'm not sure even how I am going to find, I think, a pair of pliers and just squeeze them shut and put a little bit of glue in there. And then that's going to be it. So I'm going to have pictures probably in the beginning of the video that shows this, or on the thumbnail that'll show it completed, but I'm going to do that off camera.
Here's a picture of the completed junk journal cover with the corners in place. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more from me, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you are notified each time I upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.